Wij zijn aangekomen in het museum in Cairo, waar wij gaan kijken wat hier binnen te beleven is.
Hier is een mevrouw.
Miss Miller, I'm glad to see you here.
Moeder van Matty.
Constable Zellner.
Ja.
I heard what happened to
Er is
you.
ook bijzonder veel echo hier binnen.
Truly awful.
All's well that ends well. You are waiting for Professor Lucien? Mm-hmm. Tomorrow you'll be sailing down the Nile, if I heard correctly.
That's right. I'm sure it will be an amazing experience.
But you
Hij
don't
heeft de
seem
dingen
to
gehoord
be
die wij
very
niet gehoord hebben,
excited.
blijkbaar.
Oh, but I am. It's very generous of Lady Westmacott to invite me, and especially Maddie. He'll learn a lot.
But
Well, Professor Lucien offered to join us.
then Matt will learn even more. And I'm sure it won't be unpleasant for you either.
No, I just don't know how Maddie would react if Edgar came with us.
I understand. I could test the water to see how he'd feel about it.
Would you do that? Oh, thank you, Constable Zellner.
Were you able to
moeten met
find
Matty
out
praten.
why Professor Lucien left the forecastle so suddenly last night?
No, not really. We only had a brief conversation. He was still very nervous.
He was like that on the train as well. Seems to be typical of him.
It must be something to do with the burglary at the museum. It really affected him. But he told me not to worry about anything. He said, soon this would all be over.
Really? How did he mean that?
Oh, I didn't
Klinkt ook
ask
weer
him,
verdacht.
Constable.
Ja.
Are there other passengers from the ship here?
Oh, yes, we arrived as a group. David Kreutzer, the violinist, was with us. So were Miss Myers and Mr. Inch. He seems to have gotten over the death of the Baroness pretty quickly. He seems positively
Heel verdacht.
relaxed.
I've met him. He looks on the bright side of life, so to speak. Where is Mr. Kreutzer?
He's over in the treasure chamber. Maddie is downstairs in the main hall. I'm afraid I'll hear the sound of something priceless shattering any second.
Matt will be careful, Miss Miller. I'll continue my tour of the museum.
Nou, lijkt me goed.
Yes, there's so much to see.
Hier is een deur, de guard room. Kijken wat daar te beleven is.
Locked.
Oh, niks.
Komt vast ook wel.
Kijken, go outside, go into the main hall, go into the rear area.
Ah,
De vioolman.
yo man.
Mr. Kreutzer will provide
En
the
een bewaker
background
met een
music
vest.
tonight at the opening.
Ja.
Does he have anything
Fancy, hoor.
else on his agenda? How are the acoustics, Mr. Kreutzer?
Average. I wouldn't have expected anything else from a big stone cavern.
How does it feel to have been accused of murder and to escape by the skin of your teeth? The whole thing could have had a bad ending for you. You didn't have an alibi. It was your gun.
I must admit that I can imagine better ways to spend my time than being roughed up by Inspector Legrand. Your snooping actually paid off for me this time. Did you ever suspect me?
Of murder? No. I think you're too intelligent to shoot someone with your own gun without arranging an alibi for the time of the crime. It seems like a lot of the passengers from the ship are here this morning.
Nearly all of them. I had a brief conversation with the Baroness's butler. Between you and I, he seems quite happy to be rid of the old battleship.
Mr. Kreutzer.
Young Miss Mayers was here as well. Unfortunately, it seems like she's already disappeared again.
Forget it. She's engaged.
And the old witch with her caretaker and her brat are also here.
What do you have against Lady Westmacott?
The lady is more callous than the Queen of the Night. She chased her own son away. Ice cold. I met him briefly. Flew to America because he couldn't stand her anymore.
Did any of the guests
Zou zij het zijn?
behave suspiciously?
Zou ze
Was
maar kunnen.
anyone unusually interested in the treasure chamber or the security system?
I couldn't say. I'm here to check the acoustics and then I'll come back for the gala tonight. I'm not interested in your detective games.
The newspaper
wel.
this morning is
Detective
full of
games,
reports
geweldig.
about the events on board.
I've seen them.
Someone must have informed the press directly from the ship. He probably got a pile of money for the story, don't you think?
And again, they want to ruin my reputation. But no, Constable, it wasn't me. I didn't even consider it. And whoever did it was a bungler.
Why?
A
The
bungler.
story is in all the papers. You get more money if you sell the dirt to just one paper, as an exclusive.
Who do you think it was?
The young guy, the stowaway?
The captain didn't press charges and let him go this morning. But up until then, he was in the cell the whole time.
Perhaps Miss Mayers. Maybe she wants to become an actress and needs a bit of publicity.
Whoever it was, they wanted to make sure that the story spread, and they weren't after money. So, what were they after? Well, I'm looking forward to the concert.
It will be an unforgettable night.
Nou, de displaycase kunnen we bekijken.
Ancient Egyptian jewelry. I like that golden signet ring with a scarab made of jasper. In ancient Egypt, these beetles were regarded as symbols of fertility. Nowadays, we just call them dung beetles. I suppose the beetles don't really care.
Nee, dat denk ik ook niet. Dit is een standbeeld van de god Anubis.
Uiteraard.
Exclusive and unique. The eyes of the Sphinx exhibited together for the first time ever. Hopefully the visitors will be satisfied with a single eye. Otherwise, all this effort will be for nothing. Unfortunately, now it's just the eye of the Sphinx. But it's a bit too late to change the banner.
Deze guard, kan ik met hem praten?
Well-trained guards are usually the best security system, although they didn't manage to stop the Raven in London. The gala will be crawling with guards tonight. The local police might also send some reinforcements. Well-trained... That must be the treasure chamber where the eye of the Sphinx is due to be exhibited. The display case is already prepared.
Ik denk het wel.
Enter the treasure chamber, ja, het kan.
No, sir.
I'm from the Swiss police. I want to check the security arrangements.
No one may enter the treasure chamber before the delivery has arrived.
Nou, goede beveiliging.
Ja.
Dan gaan we maar naar de main chamber.
Ja.
We kunnen ook nog naar buiten.
Ja, ja.
Die man is
Ik weet niet wat we
kwijt.
daar moeten zoeken. Ja, precies, ja. Een hond.
Even kijken, wat is hier allemaal te zien? Go up? Nee, dat willen we niet. Hier kan ik lopen, maar niks aanklikken. Dit wel, een showcase.
I've heard of this. Desert glass. In the great sand sea of the Libyan desert, there's a region where natural glass is found. Nobody knows how it formed. The valuable material was often used for jewelry in ancient Egypt.
Natural glass.
Hey.
Dat is wel gek.
Het is wel cool.
Hé, een aap. Daar links.
Several daggers
Dat is
in
een
a
baviaan.
row. The shapes and patterns look timeless, elegant.
Die vrouw zit daar ook.
What does it say
Yeah.
here? The dagger on the left is a replica of the dagger from the tomb of Tutankhamun. It must have been incredibly precious during his lifetime because it's made of
zijn best
iron.
allemaal dingen die we
Thousands
moeten
of
onthouden.
years before the Ice Age,
Ja, denk je?
meteorites were the only
Ja.
source of pure iron.
Die hebben
So
we
a
straks niet
star
nodig.
that fell from the sky, bringing a substance that's harder than anything they'd known before, would have been a dramatic event. No wonder they used it to forge a weapon for the godlike pharaoh.
Daar is nog een showcase.
Aha! This shows how the ancient Egyptians were able to move the heavy blocks of stone to build their pyramids and temples. They used ropes, wooden sleds, and poles as levers.
Zeggen ze.
These exhibits aren't originals, of course. They're reconstructed based on old pictures. Nonetheless, it's impressive how they managed to build monuments like the pyramids with such simple tools.
Nou, Lady Westmacott, wat heb jij te melden?
Impressive, isn't it? Thousands of years old and still beautiful.
That it is. They dug it out of the sand near Thebes over 50 years ago. I was there.
Goeie
Really?
hostel
I
ook.
met my husband there.
Ja.
He was an assistant on the dig and was ordered by the director of the excavation to take care of that writer. I financed many excavations in the following years, here in Egypt and in the Near East. I visited my husband, together with our son. It was the best time of my life. But a museum is no place for nostalgia. What can I do for you?
Het museum lijkt me juist de plek voor nostalgie.
Ja.
You've had a long and successful life, Lady Westmacott.
What's that supposed to mean, Mr. Zellner? That I should be ready to leave the state?
Yeah.
Because I'm not.
Oh, I didn't want...
I'm here because life is here, Constable. Or was. I have never lived as much as I have here. No fame, no money can buy that.
I understand.
I'm sorry, Constable Zellner. Such an outburst isn't fitting for a woman of my age. And an English woman at that. Let's talk about something else.
Oké.
Your son. You haven't said much about him. Or perhaps you did. Just not by name.
You're an attentive listener, Mr. Zellner.
I was wondering why you knew so much about Miss Miller's unhappy marriage.
I stopped paying his bar tabs. Stopped paying reporters to hush things up. He got to know her and went with her to America to start a new
Haar
life.
assistent was met
You can
haar
change your
zoon
name
getrouwd.
easily, but not who you really are.
Nee,
He
met...
has my eyes, doesn't he?
The Part 2 novel is for him, isn't it?
If I couldn't provide Matthew with a good father, then at least I can provide him with a good start in life.
When I was working on the ship, I felt like one of the detectives in your novels.
You were lucky. It was an unusual murder. Most murders happen in the heat of the moment or are committed by idiots. They're uninspired. But Gebhardt thought it through. He could have succeeded.
I don't know. He made too many mistakes.
He couldn't have known that the Baroness, almost unconscious from the drugs, would lock her cabin door.
But that was a risk. The plan was too complicated and sloppily executed.
You certainly are a harsh critic, Mr. Zellner.
He could have shot her on the side deck and thrown the weapon into the sea. With no witnesses, no one would have suspected him.
How boring.
Or if it had to be a complicated plan, then he should have worked more carefully. Should have thought of everything, had a plan B in place.
Maybe he didn't have enough time. He had only a few hours to plan and commit the murder.
Still, he should have covered his tracks more carefully. The audio tape, the bloody glove, none of that should have stayed in the medical center. Do you think that Dr. Gebhardt was the Raven?
Was. Do you think he's dead?
The letter sounded like he committed suicide.
There's your answer. Does that sound like the Raven? Being unmasked? Taking the easy way out?
My sentiments exactly. The Raven wouldn't commit murder, get caught, and then jump into the sea.
You don't want everything to be over, do you?
It's my chance to do something great. It can't be over yet.
At least you solved the murder of the Baroness. You're a hero.
That's not how the newspapers see it. Nor I. Something's missing. I can
Ja,
achieve
die andere man heeft
more.
onze shine gestolen.
Careful, Constable.
Klopt, ja.
He who flies too close to the sun.
Is that the myth of
Ja, zeker.
Icarus?
De
To be
mythe van
honest,
Icarus.
No. The story is Greek and was only written down 1,000 years later. I was counting on the dramatic effect.
Oh, worked
Ken je het
well
verhaal van
enough.
Icarus?
Nee.
Let's
zal
assume
het je een
that
keer
the
vertellen.
thief is still
Daar hebben we
out
nu
there.
geen tijd voor in deze video.
Who is he?
If all this were a novel, then it would be the one you least expect.
Is that intended to be a confession, Lady Westmacott?
What do we know about the new Raven?
He's a man who would stop at nothing.
Must it be a man? And how do we know that it's just one person? There could be several people collectively pretending to be the Raven.
So,
waar.
we don't know anything.
That's not completely true. We know that he or she wants the eye of the Sphinx, and will probably strike here, assuming he or she hasn't already gone.
It may be the end of the story for me, Lady Westmacott. Inspector Legrand will arrive soon and send me to the hotel. I'll return tonight for the gala, hoping all the while that the Raven does dare to attempt a burglary. Tomorrow morning, I'll have to return to Switzerland. What an unsatisfactory ending that would be.
It wouldn't be a triumphant ending, but it could be worse. At least you'd still
wel
be
waar.
alive, Constable.
Will you attend the gala tonight, Lady Westmacott?
But of course, the antiquities, the delightful atmosphere, and who knows, perhaps there will be another spectacular burglary.
And your cruise?
The ship doesn't leave until tomorrow, and believe me, I'd cancel the cruise for this.
As always, it was an entertaining and enlightening chat, Lady Westmacott.
I'm going to miss our little chats, Constable Zellner. Goodbye.
Kijken wat Matty dan te melden heeft hier als nieuwe man.
A figure of Imhotep, who comes in peace from around 2700 BC. The
Imhotep.
first polymath known by name, godfather of medicine, architect of the first pyramids, and according to legend, the inventor of Egyptian writing.
Weer wat
He
geleerd, hè?
certainly achieved more than me in his life.
Lekker hoor.
He was a legend. The Greeks called him a god. The Romans still honored him 3,000 years after his death. Even today, scholars offer a drop of ink to Imhotep when they begin a new project. Really impressive. This is Akhenaten, the only pharaoh whose portrait I always recognize.
Unusual head.
He has a very unusual head. Akhenaten was the husband of Nefertiti and the father of Tutankhamen, a famous family.
Inderdaad, dat zijn wel
But he
bekende
went down
namen,
in
ja.
history as the pharaoh who wanted to eliminate the old gods and replace them with a single god. The priests took offense and he died of unknown causes.
Nou, Matt.
Ahoy, Matt.
Dat zien we de log. We hebben alles geleerd in het museum.
Was talking?
Lekker hoor.
Yes.
And what did it say?
It said it was...
That's a very bad word.
I know.
And an English one. Don't you think it's odd that an old Egyptian statue speaks English?
Don't you think it's odd that a statue speaks at all?
That would have been my next question. And,
Goeie vraag.
is the statue talking to you right now?
Do you think I'm nuts?
No, of course not. I just thought you might have much better ears than me. Ears that can hear statues.
Some cop you are, Mr. Zellner. This is a mystery and you're just making jokes.
You're right. It's just...
Don't you believe me?
Ja, ik geloof ja.
Ja.
We both agree that a stone statue without a mouth or vocal cords cannot speak, right?
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Okay, that means you heard something else, and we have to find out what or who it was.
Roger.
I'm almost a bit envious of you. Going up the Nile on a ship, it must be great.
Yeah, I guess.
You don't sound so keen.
I think my mom wants the professor to come too.
And you don't? You can't tell me.
What if mom marries the professor and doesn't work with the lady anymore? We'd have to move to London, and I'd have to go to a new school.
You could tell your mother that it's not okay with you. She'd never do anything against your will, would she?
I guess you're right. If I'm
Altijd
stubborn
eerlijk zijn,
enough, she'll definitely
Ja.
send the professor packing. Thanks.
Ah, de kluis komt binnen.
Kijk, dan kunnen wij straks ook naar winnen.
Ja.
This will all be over soon. Then I'll finally have time for you.
We wanted to head back to the hotel.
Certainly. And tonight at the gala, I'll show you around the museum, okay? And have you made up your mind about the cruise?
Well, I don't really know.
I only see you on vacation, Mom. And now you want the professor to come too? So I'll see you even less?
You're right. I'm sorry, Professor Lucien. I think it's best if you don't join us.
But Mary,
Professor, are you coming?
maybe we can talk about this again
Lekker
tonight.
voor hem.
Should we go back to the hotel?
I want ice cream. Actually, Mr. Zellner still owes me some.
Dat is wel waar.
Klopt.
Iedereen gaat naar buiten. Ja, wij kunnen nu naar die zaal, hè. Maar die guard is ook helemaal weg.
A great moment, Professor Lucien.
Your key, please.
Yes. Well,
Come on, Professor.
but you have to realize that...
Thank you.
Finally! But...
Professor?
I wanted to give you this. Well, after the burglary in London,
Wat?
I thought the eye might not be safe on its way to Egypt. So I secretly took it when I was supposed to place it in the safe in London.
Wat een man.
How dare you?
I felt that I should leave the jewel to someone I trusted completely. Myself.
But the jewel was safe. From London to here, no one had an opportunity to steal it.
I beg your pardon, my dear colleague. But if that were true, I wouldn't have had it.
Congratulations, Professor Lucien. You fooled everyone, it seems. The honor is yours.
Blijkbaar zit er geen glas omheen.
Kan allemaal maar zo.
Oh, ja, het is een raampje. Ja. Oké.
That's that. Shall I explain the security system to you, Inspector?
The French ambassador summoned me. I have to get in touch with him. The press is besieging the embassy, and I have to answer their questions.
But you absolutely must come tonight. The opening of the exhibition will be the highlight of the year, and you are my special guest.
I will see what I can do. Zellner, will you have a look at the security precautions? We'll see each other tonight.
Of course, but
Wait, Inspector. I'll join you.
Well, here we are. The inspector will answer the reporter's questions for the next few hours. And well,
I won't take up too much of your time. I'll take a look around and then go lie down so that I'm ready for tonight.
Oké, we mogen rondkijken.
What's in the other display cases?
other valuable originals. The eyes of the Sphinx would have been the highlights of our exhibition. Now that we only have one left, it doesn't really outshine the other valuables anymore. This room is full of world-class treasures.
Oké. Oh, daar kan ik ook verder niet op klikken. De sarcophagus kan ik wel nog apart op klikken.
Many people picture a stone coffin when they hear the word sarcophagus, but this one is wooden. As usual, an ornamental representation of the deceased is painted on the outside in gold and other colors. How is the display case protected?
It's made of bulletproof glass that's several centimeters thick. You'd need heavy machinery to open it, but even the smallest disturbance of the display case will set off the alarm.
Doesn't look half bad. A glass cutter wouldn't be much use. Is the display case anchored to the floor?
Why do you ask?
The Raven once stole a whole display case in St. Petersburg instead of just taking the jewels out of it.
Such an attempt would fail here. The display case is bolted to the floor and weighs several hundred kilograms.
Oké. Daar is een camera.
What's that? A camera?
The latest model. It's called video surveillance.
I've heard
wel
about
modern, hè?
that. The images are recorded and can be viewed again later.
That's right. Images from all three cameras are recorded in the guard room.
Wow.
As I've said, we've spared no effort and no expense.
Kunnen we verder nog ergens op klikken hier? Daar lijkt het niet op. Ik kan nog met die man praten, denk ik. Of gaat de camera nog verder naar links? Nee. Ik kan ook niet met die man praten.
Oké.
Dan kan ik hier niks meer. Go outside. Ja. Dan kan ik hier niks meer. Oké. Dus we hebben geleerd over de camera en over de kluis zelf.
This here, the gate. How does it work?
If the alarm is set off, the metal gate descends. The same thing happens at the windows and the main entrance. The thief is trapped like a rat.
Fancy hoor.
As are we.
Next, I'll show you our guard room.
Daar konden we net niet in.
Security system.
Ja, die gaat hij nu openmaken.
Daar ligt een Raven verder.
Oh ja.
Alert the guards. Then call the French embassy. Legrand needs to come.
Waar, yo. Drama weer.
Ja. De Raven slaat toe.
Here, have a seat and try to calm down.
Maar hoe komt hij nou naar buiten, die Raven, hè? Als alles dicht zit?
Bijzonder goede vraag.
Ja?
Hoe kwam die überhaupt binnen? We gaan in de guardroom op het scherm kijken.
Ja, ik stel voor dat we hier gaan saven.
Lijkt me ook goed.
En dan kunnen we in de volgende video het onderzoek uitvoeren.
Ja.
Dus graag weer tot dan.
Joejoe.